What's up, YouTube? Thank you for tuning into The Success Lane. Today I'm going to talk about my birthing experience and my pregnancy experience because I said I would, and it has been about 10 months now. Elijah's 10 months, a little bit over, and so I've been slacking. But yeah, so starting with my pregnancy, I had an amazing pregnancy. I was not very sick. I was pretty much nauseous throughout my whole pregnancy, but as far as throwing up and morning sickness, I did not experience any of that. So I was very blessed and very lucky to not have to deal with that. I only threw up once. I could pretty much eat anything that I wanted to eat. I did not like the smell of cooked kale and spinach, like sauteed kale and spinach, because when I found out I was pregnant, before I got the funds to actually get my prenatal vitamins, I was just making sure that I was eating a lot of vegetables. And so that just is what happened to be in my house. So I was eating a lot of kale and spinach. And so once I was able to get my prenatals and once my pregnancy, progressed, I hated the smell of that. And I could not even see it. I did not want to eat it at all. I also, for those of you that know, I'm a pescatarian, and so I was a vegetarian for 6 years, and then for the past 4 years, I have been a pescatarian, and so I still love eating veggie meats so much. So I used to really love these black bean patties by Morningstar, and they're really thick, the really big ones. And while I was pregnant, I could not eat those at all. It was something about the smell that I just could not take. I will say that when they tell you that your mommy nose starts to happen, like, that is so true. Like, I would literally gag every time I walked in my house. Like, if Nate had cooked something, or if there was something cooked the previous night and the house didn't air out, oh my gosh, it was the worst. I couldn't deal with smell, so I was very nauseous, but luckily I didn't throw up a lot. As far as, my belly growing and being tired, I was very sleepy, and I was, I worked, while I was pregnant, I only worked about 5 minutes from home, so I would literally drive home on my lunch break. I would eat something super quick if I, was hungry, and then I would knock out for the rest of my lunch break, and I had an hour lunch break, so got a good freaking nap on my lunch break every single day. And my job, I decided to work up until the week before my due date because we needed the money, and because I just liked working, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to continue. So I was healthy enough, and the doctor approved for me to work up to my due date. And so a part of my job, I had to drive kids around in a van, and so I had to get in and out of the van, and that shit was so annoying just because being pregnant, trying to climb up something, it was one of those tall 14-seater vans, and so trying to climb up those while pregnant was very difficult, but I did it and got through it. Going to the bathroom is your best friend, I will say. I was in the bathroom constantly because this kid was like to bounce on my bladder. As far as sleep, those mommies out there, sleep was very uncomfortable. It got even more uncomfortable towards the end. But I will say there were nights where I did sleep on my stomach, a little bit, on the side, because I'm a stomach sleeper. And so it was very hard for me to not want to sleep on my stomach. And so towards the end, of course I slept either my left side or right side. I can't remember. But sometimes I did sleep on my stomach or on my back until, you can't breathe because they tell you not to sleep on your back. And then I would sleep on my side. So fasting forward to Elijah's due date. Now, his due date was whatever Mother's Day was last year, either May 14th or 15th, somewhere around there, the second week of May. On Mother's Day was his actual due date. So, everybody's excited, like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. You're going to have your baby on Mother's Day. It's going to be your first Mother's Day, all this jazz. Did he come on Mother's Day? No. This kid decided to wait a week and a day after his due date. So Elijah was born on May 22nd, 2018, a week and a day after his due date. So I went into the doctor about a week before his due date, and I still wasn't dilated at all. This kid was not trying to come out. Wasn't dilated. Wasn't having any type of Braxton Hicks, wasn't having any type of contractions, anything like that. And so the doctor told me if he's not here by next Monday, which was, I think, the day after his, no, I don't remember what the doctor said. So basically, I had to schedule an appointment to get induced so that he can come here because he was not trying to come on his own. So the date that we decided to get induced was on a Monday, and we went in early on a Monday. I made sure to get in all my food on Sunday nights because, you know, you can't eat once you go into labor. So I made sure to get my favorite quesadilla, my veggie quesadilla from Sharky's, and I had that Sunday night. So Monday came. We went in Monday morning I think it was about 8 o'clock. And went in Sunday morning, it was about 8 o'clock. And I got induced about an hour after being there, after filling out the paperwork and everything. Yes, baby. I'm trying to tell people how you got here. Look at all those crackers on your mouth. This kid loves his crackers. So about an hour, and excuse me, because we're outside, and I don't know why, because I have allergies. And my nose is acting crazy. But so he got induced, I got induced on a Monday, and about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I still wasn't having contractions or anything. And so the doctor came in, checked me, nothing. The nurses came in, checked me, nothing. I actually was in there with my mom, my dad, and my fiance. Now fiance. Son. You want me to get you? And see, this is why I can't hold him when I do video. This is why. But so yeah, I got induced. Still wasn't having contractions, nothing, y'all. Like, I wasn't feeling anything. I'm like, this labor about to be a breeze. Like, I don't know why people are saying that it's so hard, because I'm not feeling anything at all. Like, I could do this all day, every day. Should have had my twins like I wanted. But so yeah, so about like the whole day Monday, like, I didn't feel anything. Like, we were bouncing on the ball. I had my exercise ball. Nate was massaging my back. I was playing my soothing music. I had my battery operated candle in there, which is going to be my focus point while pushing, because you know, I just wanted to be prepared. And I was like, this is about to be a breeze because I'm not feeling nothing. So we had our birthing plan. The weirdest thing in our birthing plan, I would say, is we wanted to keep our placenta. So that was something in there that we really wanted them to read, and we really wanted them to know ahead of time, because we wanted to make sure that we were able to take our placenta home. So all of Monday, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, that's not even a time, but you get it. The whole day of Monday, no Elijah. No, nothing. He's good. Heartbeat's good. He's kicking. He's moving, but he's not trying to get out. So fast forward to Tuesday. Tuesday, nurse comes in. I'm dilated a little bit, but still not a lot. Still moving around. She's moving me, checking me, all that. Finally, it rolls around till about 6 p.m. And I am now beginning to be dilated. I am dilated about 8 or 9 centimeters. I got to get to 10. The nurse comes in, she checks me, she's like, all right, do you want to start pushing? Actually, no, I said the wrong time, because just so y'all know, I was pushing for 4 hours. So let's see. So about 3 p.m. around 3 p.m. You know, the nurse comes in, she says, hey, you want to start trying to push? You know, you're dilated 9 centimeters, but the baby's still really high. So this kid was really high up in my uterus, even though I was dilated to 9 centimeters. So he was not ready. He was in there chilling like, I'm not coming out no time soon, so you better relax. Nurse was like, all right, let's start pushing. I was pushing for about 4 hours. Now, that sounds like a lie, and y'all probably like, damn, 4 hours. But honestly, thinking back to that moment and being in that moment, like, it did not feel like 4 hours. Once I heard that they can see Elijah's head and they can see his hair, it's like I went into mommy mode. I went and I focused and I zoned out. Now, during my actual active labor, I had Nate in there, I had my mom, and I had my best friend Leash in there. And my mom and Nate were holding my legs up. You know how they have to hold and pull your legs back while you're giving labor. So they were actually giving me strength. Are you trying to poop right now? Stop trying to poop, slobber. He's teething, so he's drooling all over me. So yes, my mom was holding my leg and Nate was holding my leg, and I remember my mom was on my right side and Nate was on my left side, and like literally seeing my mom, how strong she was pulling my leg back, because I know that mess was heavy, gave me more strength to keep pushing. So it's like thinking back now, it's like everything was happening like boom, boom, boom. Like I saw the doctor come in, he put on his gloves, put on his hat, put all that stuff on, and started saying Elijah was coming out, and I just got the strength. And they were like, okay, you want to take a break? I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep pushing. I keep pushing, push this little baby out. Elijah was born on May 22nd, Tuesday, at 7:07 p.m. So we had all day Monday, basically all day Tuesday. My whole labor was 37 hours, active for 4 hours, y'all. Like crazy, 37 hours. But he came out naturally, did not have to get a C-section. That was one thing that I did not want. And you know, if you have to get a C-section, that is okay. But for my first pregnancy, I just did not want to experience that. I didn't want to have to go through that recovery. And so I was so blessed that he came out. Little to no stitching, no tearing at all. Hold on, y'all. Hiding behind the tree, these little children are asking you to please come out so they can play with you. Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. So yes, Elijah came out, and the doctor said I had little to no tearing at all. I actually had no tearing, and he would just stitch me up a little bit internally. But besides that, he was like, when I went for my checkup appointment, he was like, it didn't even look like I had a baby. Like Elijah came out so smoothly after being in there for so long. So, you know, the first night we went in there, Elijah was such a great baby. I'm going to try to attach some pictures in here of when he was first born, but he was such a good baby. Like, they came in that first night, showed us how to give him a bath, you know, helped us change his diaper for the first time, all that jazz. And it was just, we were just so in love at first sight. Like, all I saw when he first came out was these big, beautiful eyes and his little birthmark on his arm, and just, he was just perfect from the moment he came. And like, I was just in love. Like, it was also one of my requests to put him directly on me. Like, I didn't want him cleaned up or anything. So as soon as he popped out, right on my chest, and I was just in love, just all up in the gook, just all up in the gook, all up in the gook, all up in the gook. And yeah, and I would not change anything for the world about that. It was just so amazing. So first night went good. Now, I'm going to try not to get emotional. So fast forward to the second day. And we're thinking, all right, we about to get discharged. We're about to go home. They come in the room and they tell us that Elijah has to go to the NICU. Now, the NICU is the ICU, intensive care unit for newborns. And you know, I started freaking out because I never, honestly, as a new mom, like, I never thought that my child could go to the NICU. And I just want to give advice to all my new moms, like, just be prepared for anything, because you never know what's going to happen. And that was never in my mind that that could be a possibility. So Elijah ended up having to go to the NICU because apparently when he came out, he had a fever, which I did not realize. No one told me, nothing. He looked completely healthy when he came out. Didn't even notice until I looked back at the picture of like the little monitor where you hold them next to, and it said, I think it was like 100 point something. Dude. So they said that because he had a temperature, they took his blood work, and his blood work had tested positive for a bacteria in his blood. And so they informed us, and this is me thinking logically afterwards, because during the time I didn't want to hear nothing. All I heard was, my baby's going to the NICU. What the hell? I'm scared. I'm crying. Like, he's supposed to be coming home. So apparently they said it tested positive for a bacteria in his blood. Now, this bacteria could either be in his blood, or it could have been contaminated by the container or something else outside of it, and I forget exactly what it was called. So it was just some form of bacteria. So they wanted to retest his blood to make sure that it wasn't in his blood, because if it was in his blood, then he would need to take antibiotics to get it out. Now that sounds all logical, right? But when you're a new mom and you're a first-time parent and you hear that your baby's going to the NICU and they have to test his blood because he might be sick in his blood, no one wants to hear that, okay? And I will completely say that during this time, Nate was really my strength. Like, he is such a great dad. He is such a supportive partner, fiance, everything to me, because he was completely strong. I could not ask any questions. I could not do anything because I was so nervous and so frazzled and so scared that he needed to be that person asking all the questions, needed to be that person making sure that our son was good, needed to be that person going to get blood with him, because also, by the way, my legs and feet were completely swollen. And so they told me I should not be walking around at all. So anytime that Elijah needed to leave the room, Nate left the room, because I was just a complete mess and I could not physically really get up. So fast forward, Elijah goes to the NICU. We both go to the NICU. I'm walking my ass there with my swollen feet, swollen legs, because there's no way I'm going to be stuck in my room the whole time while my baby's over there. Oh, my nose. Sorry, guys. So they tell us that Elijah's going to need to stay there for a minimum of 72 hours because they're going to need to retest his blood and make sure it's not there. So they tell me that they're going to start him on, they tell us that they're going to start him on antibiotics just in case, because if it does come back positive, they're going to need to start him. So to take a precaution, they wanted to start him already on the antibiotics so that the movement can already be in motion just in case. And once again, sounds completely logical now, right? But during that time, I did not want to hear that my baby was going to need to put IVs in his arms, IVs in his legs, because it was just traumatic for me. And so, to be completely honest with you guys, like, seeing my son get IVs, well, first of all, seeing him in an incubator was completely traumatizing. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, seeing your baby in an incubator is like, it just is so, it feels so detached, because, right, like, this is your new baby, you want to hold them, you want to love them, and they're trapped inside this incubator with cords coming in and out of them, and it's just like, it was just really traumatizing for me. Had to come inside because I'm feeding Elijah, and I'm not a fan of breastfeeding on my balcony. So yeah, so Nate was such a huge support during this time, because I was a complete mess. So now, the other thing that was a little bit, you know, emotionally draining for me was because ever since I found out I was pregnant, one of the things that I look forward to the most was breastfeeding Elijah. Like, I have always just been a huge fan of wanting to breastfeed and being a breastfeeding advocate, and just making sure that, you know, women feel comfortable and they know that it's healthy and it's safe. And even if you formula kid your child, like, at the end of the day, all that matters is that your child is getting the nutrition that they needed. But I just wanted that bonding moment and that bonding experience of breastfeeding my son. And so something that was a very emotionally draining, son. I hate when he just likes to get off of the breast and wants me to just have it out. Son, I'm not going to do this. Hold on. So yeah, so he had formula for about the first couple weeks, along with my breast milk, just to make sure he was getting enough nutrients and fluids in his body to wash out the antibiotics and all that stuff. So Elijah ended up staying in the NICU for 5 days. He came home 5 days after his delivery, and I was released from the hospital my 3rd day being there. And so this is what's really emotional and hard for me, because it's like, as a new mom, especially with your first child, you never think about having to go home without your child. And for my NICU moms out there, I know it's hard, whether your child was in there for 1 day or 3 months or whatever amount of time your child was in there. I know it's hard every single day when you have to leave the hospital without them. And for me, it was like, I had a huge support with my family, a huge support with my friends, and I can't even explain how it feels to have to leave your child, or to have to come back to see them, and you have to stand at this damn sink and wash your hands for 2 minutes, and you hear your child screaming in there, you hear your child crying, and all you want to do is run in there and go straight to them. But you have to make sure that you are keeping yourself healthy so that your baby's healthy. So Elijah, apparently he has very small veins for a child. I don't know. I almost went off on the nurse too, because she was like, oh, his veins are so small. I'm like, he's a baby. What you think? But apparently his veins are really hard to find, and they're really small and all like tangled up and stuff. So they had a really difficult time finding his veins to put in the IV. And that, I think, was the most traumatic, because they kept trying to poke him in different places and he was not having it. He was screaming. They ended up having to put it in his hand in the top. And for those, even as adults, if you ever have to get an IV and you have to get it in your hand, you know that's the most painful thing. And so we ended up, you know, making them wrap his hand up, and I'll try to put some pictures in there too. Wrap his hand up because he was going to pull it out, and some parents don't do that and their baby ends up pulling it out, and then blood starts squirting everywhere, and it's a whole nother traumatic experience. So I'm glad that us as first-time parents, and especially Nate, were very adamant about, you need to wrap this up for my son. I don't care how it looks, but you need to wrap it up. I don't care what you want to do and what you need to do. This is what we want, and this is what's going to happen. So yeah, like Elijah was such a funny baby from the get-go, from the jump. Like, he was flipping people off in the he flipped a nurse off while he was in the NICU, and it was so funny because it was right after she was trying to poke his heel to get his little blood sample, and he was not having it. And so, like, it was like right after she got done, she walked out, and he was like and it's like, I know he knows what he's doing. I know he's been here before, and I know he completely understands everything. So yeah, just a recap, and I might do another one later, but this is just what's initially on my mind. And I actually wrote a letter to him about his birthing experience, and not my whole pregnancy, but just from when we went in to get induced until he was actually born, because I want him to read it later, and I wrote it the actual next day he came actually home, so that it was all fresh in my mind and all the details. And so maybe I'll get on here and I'll read that to you guys. But yeah, that's for him. When he turns 18, he can read it and keep it forever. So yes, thank you guys for tuning in to The Success Lane. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment below on anything that you may want to hear about my pregnancy, about Elijah, about Nate's perspective on this. And I would just love to make another video, talk to you guys some more about our family and what we're doing and this amazing little boy that we have, because he is so great. And no bias because he's my son, but he is so amazing.